In today's video, I am breaking down the term exclusivity and specifically how much you can charge brands if they mention exclusivity during negotiations or within their contracts. The truth is, this is a term that may come up from time to time in brand meetings, and to be honest, there are both pros and cons to it. So let's chat about it. What exactly is exclusivity? Well, basically exclusivity means that an influencer is required by contract to exclusively work with that brand, and that brand only for a determined period of time, therefore preventing them from working with other brands. And while this may sound exciting, especially if it's a well-known or popular brand, you should know that it also means that you as an influencer cannot work with other brands or other categories of brands during the time established within the contract. And that could cause you to lose out on future income, which is why it's important that you increase your rates significantly for this type of contract. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Jay and I'm the creator of 11th Street Studio Influencer Agency. If you'd like to learn how you can join our influencer community, check out the link to our main website below this video. And if you'd like to learn how you can join our members area to gain unlimited access to all of our e-courses and live webinars and members lounge, definitely check out the link below this video to the members area. So let's dive back into today's topic. Now, in a recent report by Maverick, it was mentioned that the majority of brands are now requesting exclusivity rights from influencers, and more specifically, of the influencers that they surveyed, 61% said that they're receiving exclusivity requests from brands, particularly in the fashion and beauty industries. So it's a pretty common situation to find yourself in, and if you haven't experienced this yet, you may want to prepare yourself for it to be brought up in the future. So before we dive into all the details, keep in mind that an exclusivity contract is created to protect the brand. They essentially want to make sure that your audience will only see branded content that was created for them, and in no way is it competing with content that you've also created for their competitors. And that really does make sense if you think about it. And from your audience's perspective too, because how can they truly take your recommendations seriously if you're partnering with a brand one week to promote, say, a new mascara, and then the next week promoting their direct competitor's mascara? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So really, the million-dollar question is, where does this leave you, the influencer? So let's break it down, because many brands are willing to pay a lot of money for influencers to promote and recommend their products, but they're also willing to pay exclusivity fees that are double or triple or more your base rate. And as I'm sure you're aware, the influencer marketing space is pretty crowded. So now more than ever before, brands are finding it pretty difficult to stand out from their competition. So because of this, they often negotiate exclusivity windows that prevent influencers from partnering with their competitors or posting competitive content during an exclusive time period before or after a campaign, or both. I've personally seen this window of time range anywhere from 24 hours for a one-off post to a week or months for a series of posts, and up to a year or longer for long-term branded content partnership deals, okay? Now, it's important that you also know that exclusivity can be limited to not only a brand's direct competitors, but can also include entire industries. For example, the beauty or fashion industry as a whole, depending on the brand running the influencer campaign. Meaning, you're agreeing to not accept opportunities from the industry as a whole, not just their direct competitors. Also, keep in mind that most influencers have said that the average exclusivity contract involves not posting content, including products, from a set list of competitors for 30 days after the content goes live, but occasionally involves not partnering with the brand's competitors for a set time frame before and after the post goes live. So most commonly 30 days before or 30 days after. So again, what does this all mean for you? Well, if a brand approaches you and mentions that they're interested in exclusivity, you have every right to increase your rate. Many influencers feel that they should be compensated for, say, every month that they are asked to turn down opportunities and incentives from other brands, and that makes sense. And realistically, exclusivity may vary from one contract to another, which is why it's so important to really read the fine print. Now, sometimes exclusivity can be limited to those brands that are in the same industry, and other times it's limited to just their competitors, meaning when signing an exclusivity contract, you may agree to not accept paid campaigns with the brand's competitors or products in a certain category for a specified time frame. Or it's extremely restrictive, preventing you from working with any other brand at all. So as you can imagine, all of these scenarios may cause you to lose other brand opportunities. So I strongly recommend that you think over any exclusivity contracts and really analyze the pros and cons, both short-term and long-term. So like I mentioned, in the world of influencer marketing, brands often pay much more for influencers to sign contracts with an exclusivity clause. Agreeing to a window of exclusivity prevents you from accepting new business for a specified time frame. So it's no surprise at all that influencers expect additional compensation for these types of requests. And that is why brands expect influencers to double or triple their rates, since they'll be losing paid opportunities with other brands during that contract's time frame. Now, on a side note, as an influencer, your rates should never really be the same from one campaign to the next, because each partnership is so uniquely different. Now, if you want to learn all of the factors involved in pricing your rates from one brand campaign to the next, make sure to watch my video called How to Price Sponsored Posts. I'll link to it at the end of this video. Also, I've included a simple formula that you can use to price your rates for future collaborations inside of the resource library within the members area. So go ahead and check that out as well. I'll link to both of these resources below this video. So now that you have an idea of what exclusivity is, let's break down exactly how exclusivity works. So for example, let's say it's summertime and a skincare company wants an influencer to partner with them on an upcoming summer campaign for their new SPF. Now, while it's occasionally normal for a brand to require influencers not to work with, say, their top few competitors during the length of the campaign, this brand wants to extend that time frame for 3 months total. So in this scenario, the influencer would increase his or her rate to offset that future income loss. So for example, charging 3 times their normal rate. Okay, now let's pivot real quickly and chat about holiday exclusivity, because exclusivity is a request that you'll see during the holidays too. And given that brands turn to influencers for partnerships during the holidays more than any other time of the year, if a brand requests exclusivity at this time of year, you can charge significantly more to offset the additional income loss. Because if you think about it, you'll inevitably have to turn down more offers than normal, since brands are reaching out for partnerships quite frequently before and during the holiday season. So in this scenario, you can calculate your estimated earnings for that time period and charge them that rate, for example. Another way to think about it is this way. Say you determine your base rate for a sponsored post is, say, $3,000, and a brand approaches you and requests that you sign a contract with an exclusivity clause that totals 3 months. And the following month, their competitor offers you $10,000. Well, you're legally required to turn their competitor's offer down, meaning you'll lose the opportunity to earn $10,000. Okay, so as you can see, tripling your rate would basically offset any potential loss in income during the time frame that you agree to remain exclusive. Hopefully that makes sense. Just remember, in any situation where you find yourself in a position where you could potentially lose revenue since you won't be able to work with other brands until the contract ends, brands fully expect to be charged more to cover potential lost revenue, okay? So I'm curious, have you ever signed an exclusive contract with a brand? If so, let me know in the comments below. I would really love to know your experience and how it worked out. Now, at this point, I would like to mention that by all means, please run this type of contract by a lawyer if you're approached by a brand requesting exclusivity, okay? It certainly can't hurt, especially if you've never agreed to exclusivity in the past. Now, I think it's also important that you know that you can also charge an additional fee if a brand wants to run your campaign as an ad in addition to the normal campaign. Because in this scenario, the ad could cause you to potentially lose future campaigns with the brand's competitors. Because if they were to see it, or if their target market were to see it, they may then associate your image from the ad with the previous brand, which could cause you to lose partnership opportunities in the future. So if you're in any way becoming the face of that brand, go ahead and charge that brand more, because that could seriously limit your opportunity to work with similar brands in the future. It's complicated, I know. Again, I 100% recommend that you run any contracts like this by a lawyer prior to signing anything or negotiating any payment. Now, while these scenarios can be few and far between depending on your niche, they do exist. So it's important that you're aware of the outcomes and really plan accordingly. So now let's chat quickly about a few things that you'll want to consider when approached with an exclusivity contract. First being, ask the brand what their expectations and goals are with the exclusivity clause. It's important that you're crystal clear on what is expected from you to prevent any future misunderstandings on the terms and conditions of the contract. And second, find out if there is any room for flexibility during the exclusivity period. This way, if an opportunity comes along, for example, towards the end, you won't have to miss it, or you'll be aware of the consequences if you are to end the exclusivity contract early. And third, and probably most importantly, consider whether or not you're actually comfortable working with these types of restrictions and being exclusive with a brand for a month or more. Because as you can imagine, not everyone is, and that's okay. And fourth, consider your audience. Is this something that they will appreciate and will help you engage more with them and also stay authentic to your brand and yourself? And last but not least, make sure to request a list of specific brands that you're restricted from working with during the contract so that everyone is crystal clear and it's in writing. Now, before I go, I just want to say that while an exclusivity contract can be intimidating at first, it's important to remember that there are benefits to exclusive contracts too. To start, exclusivity with a brand can help increase your authenticity and credibility among your audience, because by being exclusive with a brand, you're demonstrating loyalty rather than accepting every sponsored opportunity that comes your way, which could potentially cause distrust in your followers. Also, other brands may notice your loyalty as well, and they may view this approach positively and see that you're taking a very professional approach towards your content and audience, which can increase the chances that they'll also want to work with you in the future. So keep these things in mind, because you always want to think positively and optimistically and really consider how things will benefit you long term. Ideally, you always want to be relatable, and partnering with brands long term can really increase your appeal. Plus, long-term partnerships are often highly sought after by influencers because it not only shows loyalty to a brand, but it's also a consistent form of income. Plus, from a brand's point of view, it's ideal because it looks good for a brand if an influencer is consistently working with them because they love the brand, they love the products, and the brand's treating them well and paying them well, rather than the influencer saying yes to all of the other brands that are approaching them. At the end of the day, Whether or not you agree to exclusivity contracts is entirely up to you. But hopefully this video helped clear things up for you. And like I mentioned before, always consult with a lawyer before signing any contract that mentions exclusivity so that you're crystal clear as to what exactly you're agreeing to. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And make sure to check out the video that I made about how to price sponsored posts. And if you haven't already, check out the links to our members area where you can join as a member to gain unlimited access to all of our e-courses, live webinars, and members lounge. And also check out the link to our main website if you'd like to join our influencer community. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you in the next video.